David Beckmann, this day has come, and I've tried to look back and remember when we first met. What stands out to me is the time you came to Birmingham, Alabama, and in tandem with Congressman Spencer Backus, you addressed the audience at Birmingham Southern College. Both of you that night were impressive and persuasive. Then I remember the dinner at Pat and Gail Pelham's home. I remember meeting Elaine Van Cleve there. And it was a time for me to learn the powerful story of Pat Pelham and Elaine Van Cleve. At that home, you were at home, pressing the mission of bread for the world and convincing persons to make contributions. Now, really, prior to that time, I did not understand the potential power of advocacy to rid the world of hunger and of the hunger pains of poverty. You and so many others helped open my eyes. Of course, I thought you were then a man of great stature, fully grown. And I'm sure you were because you're older than I am. But as I saw the network of bread in our board meetings and listened to persons with many other expertise around the table challenge you to take on new skills and training, and you responded to the challenges, I saw you help bread grow as you also grew. Thank you for the 28 years of solid investment in the life of this organization, which invests its life in the lives of people all over the world. It's truly a sign that he who gives up his life, or she who gives up her life for the sake of others, will find it. Your investment has stretched me and has stretched the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church to do more of its part in ending hunger and building people. I'm also grateful to Janet and all of your other family members for letting us share so much of you for so long. I pray that there will be good times in retirement for you and all your family. And I want to tell you that Wendy and the CME Church join me in praying God's choice blessings upon you and your family in the future.
From hundreds of members of the Bread family in New Mexico who over the years helped lead offerings of letters at their churches, assisted in organizing workshops, and wrote letters and made phone calls to Congress. We remember your words when you came to our community in 1995. I'm struck that I come to Albuquerque to meet people who have been part of Bread for the World for 20 years, and we don't know each other, but we've been part of something together, you said. 24 years later, the word together is just as important as it was then. We are thankful and privileged to have been on a journey with you and look forward to continue walking on the same path as you transition to a new role as an anti-hunger activist. Congratulations and thank you for your work.
I have never seen anyone better than David Beckmann in doing an analysis of domestic or global poverty. It's comprehensive, it's complete, it's compelling. But then I've never seen anyone do better than David to make that a faith statement, to make that theological, pastoral, spiritual, and his belief in God comes out. His following Jesus, it's a calling more than just an analysis. David, no one does that better than you, taking your best analysis of poverty and bringing faith into the heart of it. Thank you, David Beckmann, for making poverty clear and showing it is a matter of faith for all of us. Thank you, David.
Yeah.
I first met David about 25 years ago. Bob called me one day and said he was hosting a little luncheon for friends and business colleagues and was inviting David Beckmann, who was the president of Bread, and thought I would enjoy meeting him. Well, I did indeed enjoy meeting him and listening to him. Yes, he was bright, well-educated, attractive, delightful sense of humor, and I understand had a great penchant for fundraising. But it didn't take me long, not long at all, to realize that the thing that was special about David Beckmann was his spirituality. It is clear to me, and has remained clear to me, that he is driven by a call from God, if you will, to help eradicate hunger, not only in America, but in the world.
One of the things that has always drawn me to Bread for the World, that I've been consistently appreciative of as a professor of political science and somebody who studies international development, is that Bread is both deeply Christian and also very politically effective. And I think that in a lot of ways that is something that David exemplifies and has cultivated in the organization, because they're pieces of himself. He wants to be effective. He wants to bring about change in our political system for the benefit of the poor and hungry. And he's also deeply Christian. And that was really influential in pulling me into Bread and then keeping me engaged with Bread. And I think in David's case, David was sometimes more optimistic about what our Bread members could do than I was, on particularly in issues of international development, or really more complex things. And I will never forget once when we were trying to tackle a big issue, and I don't remember if this was embedded in the Farm Bill or if it was its own separate thing, but we were talking about effective food aid, trying to get more effective food aid. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, how are we going to get our Bread activists to understand the complexity of farming in sub-Saharan Africa, and in the trade-offs of US sourced food aid versus locally purchased food aid? I thought, this is just going to be too complicated. But David didn't think that. David was confident that not only would Bread members be able to understand that, they would be able to articulate that to their elected officials. And I was still like, well, okay, let's see. I was not that confident. And I remember going to lobby day and just sitting down at breakfast at lobby day and having somebody sat next to me, and we started talking about the food aid issue. And this is an older lady who, I don't know where she was from, probably somewhere in the Midwest, right? She's an older lady, and she starts explaining local and regional purchase to me and how important it is to farmers in sub-Saharan Africa. And I thought, yep, David was right. We got it. We are launching this force of people out to Capitol Hill who are incredibly well informed about policy, and then deeply willing to engage it on the basis of their faith. And so I have always appreciated David's deep knowledge of international development and the way that our actions as a country can impact those who are poor and hungry overseas, but also his vision for believing that our Bread activists can understand that complexity, can care enough to learn about it, and then effectively advocate for it. So David, you have left a huge and beautiful legacy in the impact of your work on the lives of people around the world who benefit from better US foreign assistance policies because of what you have done.
What I most admire about David is he has shown how a good person can speak some pretty inconvenient truths about injustice, about things that matter, as an expression of his faith. And it's inspiring to me, it's inspiring to everybody who knows him. And I want to say thank you for providing that inspiration.
Hi, David. You have been such an amazing source of inspiration for all of us who work in nutrition, not just the Bread for the World team, but for all of us. Thank you for your professionalism, your dedication to the agenda, and of course, your amazing leadership style. Gentle, but very firm at the same time. Thank you. We will miss you, but your legacy will continue.
David Beckmann, Reverend David Beckmann, friend, partner, leader, revolutionary reverend. You've changed the lives of millions of people. Even more important, you've given millions of people dignity and respect. To me, you have been a friend even when we were in hilarity comparing ourselves as the Reverend and the Revolutionary. It's been great. We are blessed to have had you working along beside us for all these years. Thank you, David. You are beloved, and rightly so.
Dear Dave, I wish you and the family all the best during the season of retirement and the next phase of the journey. As the former vice president of Bread for the World, I have so appreciated your faithfulness and leadership to the vision and mission entrusted to you by Bread's beloved founder, Art Simon. You always led by the Holy Spirit, centered in God's commandment to feed the hungry. As General Secretary of the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference, I bring heartfelt appreciation for our long partnership. During this epic and transformative period in the nation's history, the system of racism and impoverishment are being revealed in new ways to many, many others. Your leadership and tenure have positioned Bread for the World as a national and global force and gift on the continued journey to end hunger. During this moment of transition, may you be inspired and affirmed by Hebrews 6:10. For God is not unjust. He will not overlook your work and the love that you showed for his sake in serving the saints, as you still do. Congratulations, Dave. A job well done, God's good and faithful servant. God bless you and keep you, and may you always stay in peace. Thank you for this opportunity to bring greetings and congratulations.
Today we celebrate the journey of a servant of God. David, you discerned God's calling and responded without wavering. During more than 25 years, you kept the course. Your life and ministry have been one hope against hope. When most people doubted or when others trampled on the hopes and aspirations of the poor, you persisted. Your perception of the kingdom of God has been crystal clear. Hunger and poverty have no place in God's economy. Your humility, your compassion, your sense of destiny have sustained your drive to challenge the doubters. I was one of those doubters. If I can identify one person in the second half of my life that has been instrumental in changing my worldview and my theology, is you, David. For many years, I labored to save people for the coming kingdom. By your words and deeds, David, you challenged my theological positions. God used you to open my eyes to the reality of God's kingdom here and now. David, you have been faithful. You succeeded in the task that God gave to you. You should feel fully accomplished. It is okay for you to feel that there's still so much that you can give because you still have so much to contribute. But you gave your all at the right time, in God's time. I pray that you continue to discern the new ways in which the Spirit will use your passion, your knowledge, and your love. As you do that, take joy in the success that those who learn from you will achieve in the journey ahead. Gracias por tu fidelidad, por tu amor por la humanidad. Those of us who call you friend are forever grateful that God allowed us to journey together with you.
David, you are an extraordinary leader, a great example for all of us. Compassionate, competent, effective, and highly respected. We thank you very, very much.
David Beckmann, you bring together the political heart of Senator Harkin from Iowa, the passion and empathy for hungry people of Archbishop Oscar Romero, and the rugged good looks of Henry Fonda. You are the complete package. Thank you for over 3 decades of hard work. For all of us who care about hunger, we see Bread for the World not as a charity, but as a service. And with your leadership, that service has really helped so many caring people get traction and to make such a difference. Thank you, thank you, thank you, David, for your leadership. And best wishes as you continue to make a big difference in our world.
Hi, I'm Elaine Van Cleve. I've worn many hats at Bread for the World over the years. I've served as Congressional District Organizer in Birmingham for over 15 years. I also served 2 terms on Bread for the World's board. I was even dubbed one of Bread's Hunger Heroes at their 30th anniversary celebration. All of that started in the mid-90s when I was in a women's study group at my church in Birmingham. As a mother of 3 young girls, I went to everything at my church that offered free child care. That particular summer, we were studying a book about simplicity, and in that book was a clear call to work to make the world a better place. We heard that call and answered it by starting a robust hunger ministry at our church. As Presbyterians, we were lucky enough to have the Presbyterian Hunger Program out of Louisville to guide us. There was a 5-point plan to end hunger, and we followed that plan at my church. The first 4 points were very easy to follow. We held a food drive. We sponsored church school classes on hunger. We raised money for Heifer Project, and we started a recycling program at our church. But the last point was the tough one. Number 5 suggested that we advocate for just public policies. We really didn't understand the whole church and politics thing. I certainly knew very little about how our government goes about making laws and funding programs. In college, I even dropped Economics 101 and changed my major so I'd never have to take that class again. So we stayed away from that pesky advocacy suggestion. Finally, when we asked our pastor for some advice and some help, he told us we should check out Bread for the World. And it just so happened that about that same time, David Beckmann was scheduled to speak at a local Catholic church in Birmingham. So folks from our hunger ministry went to hear what he had to say. Now, as everyone knows, David is not only a preacher, he is also a London School of Economics educated economist. In that simple church basement, David boldly sold us on the idea that advocacy was a way to put legs on our faith. He convinced us that if we really wanted to end hunger in God's world, that we could provide a voice for the poor and hungry in the halls of Congress. We accepted the challenge and started holding annual letter writing campaigns at our church, and we had finally fully embraced the Presbyterian Hunger Program's 5-point plan to end hunger. Most cherished and most productive times I've spent with Bread for the World are the many, many, many Bread for the World events we held in Birmingham over the years, where David came and poured his heart out on behalf of the world's poor and hungry citizens. And all this time, I've watched David Beckmann speak tirelessly about ending hunger in God's world. Whether he was speaking to a dozen people in a church basement or to an auditorium full of college students, he always gave a strong, enthusiastic, and consistent pitch for getting involved, writing a letter, calling your member of Congress, and of course, financially supporting the work of Bread for the World. Whenever you left a talk by David Beckmann, you knew what you needed to do to help end hunger. David, I love you. We love you. We will miss your leadership, but congratulations on this next phase of your life. No doubt you will continue to inspire and lead. Hi, David.